Welcome back to another deep dive with My Mind MashUps.
Great to be here.
You know that feeling, right? It's
Yep.
one where your brain feels like it's just, well...
Full, constantly bombarded by screens, notifications, endless information.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
If you're a student trying to focus, or maybe you're a professional juggling emails and meetings, chances are you know exactly what I'm talking about. So today, we're diving into that challenge headfirst. We're exploring source material that really gets to the heart of digital overload and, importantly, how we can actually reclaim our focus. Our minds, really.
It's such a relevant topic right now.
Absolutely. And hey, if you find this deep dive helpful, please do like, share, and subscribe to My Mind MashUps. It really helps us out, and you won't miss future explorations.
So it's more than just, feeling busy, isn't it? The data we looked at really highlights the scale of this.
Yeah. What did it show?
Well, research suggests we consume 5 times more information daily than people did just a few decades ago.
5 times. Wow. Think about that. It's a huge shift in like a generation. And there's this estimate floating around that the average person processes up to 74 gigabytes of data a day.
74 gigabytes. What does that even mean in real terms?
Okay, so to put that in perspective, it's like trying to binge watch every single episode ever made of Game of Thrones in one single day.
Yeah.
24 hours. Your brain just wasn't built for that kind of volume. It's overwhelming.
74 GB. Okay, just hearing that statistic makes me feel tired. It absolutely validates why so many of us feel mentally fried,
Exactly.
So our goal today in this deep dive is to really understand this whole thing. What is digital overload exactly? How did we get here so fast? What's the actual toll it takes on us, our brains, our bodies?
And crucially, what can we actually do about it? What are the concrete steps to find some peace and get our focus back in this always-on world?
Right. We've pulled some pretty surprising facts and practical insights from this source material. We're going to try and unpack them without, adding to the overwhelm.
Sounds like a plan. Let's jump in.
Okay.
All right, so let's start with defining digital overload. At its core, it's basically when we expose ourselves to way more information, more sensory input, than our brains are really equipped to handle effectively.
It's that feeling, like you said, of trying to drink from a fire hose.
Yeah, exactly. A constant torrent. You're checking email, then a news headline pops up, a social media alert pings, a chat message arrives. Your attention is just under this relentless barrage.
And what's really striking, I thought, is how the research consistently shows this constant switching, this media multitasking.
Yeah.
It isn't making us more productive.
No, quite the opposite.
Right. It actually impairs our ability to focus deeply. So instead of efficiently ticking things off the list, we end up feeling scattered, anxious, and just wiped out.
Mm-hmm. That feeling of being busy but not actually effective.
Totally.
And it brings with it this real sense of being on edge, that jitteriness, maybe that feeling your phone vibrated when it didn't phantom vibrations.
Oh, I get that.
Right. And the constant stream of notifications, each one creates this tiny burst of urgency, and it feeds into that fear of missing out FOMO.
Yeah, FOMO is real.
And the experts say those little pings, they tap right into our underlying anxiety. They make us feel like we have to respond immediately, even if it's objectively not important at all.
That pressure to be always on is just intense. I saw one fascinating finding in the materials about a small study with parents.
Oh, yeah.
They were getting nearly 300 notifications a day. 300. And the study found the more they checked their phones, the more stressed they felt.
Wow. That's a direct link. It's like our devices have become these little anxiety machines, constantly demanding our attention.
Exactly.
And this internal state, it shows up in symptoms lots of us probably recognize. Heightened anxiety, irritability, maybe feeling on edge or having mood swings because your brain is just constantly trying to keep up.
It makes it hard to relax.
It really does. It's hard to genuinely switch off when you're kind of anticipating the next alert. And physically, it can show up as headaches, eye strain from all that screen time, and just that general bone-deep fatigue.
Oh, and sleep. We have to talk about sleep. It's a huge casualty here, isn't it?
Massive. Using screens late at night is a major disruptor. That blue light they emit actually suppresses melatonin. That's the hormone that tells your body it's time to wind down.
So if you've ever been scrolling through TikTok or something before bed,
Mm-hmm.
and then found yourself just staring wide-eyed at the ceiling an hour later, that's probably why.
Absolutely. That intense visual and mental stimulation, plus the blue light, it's basically telling your brain to wake up, not settle down.
Right. Okay, so how did this become our reality? And it feels like it happened so quickly.
It does feel sudden, but it's really been this perfect storm brewing for, nearly 2 decades now.
15, 20 years, yeah. You can sort of trace it back to that convergence of tech and culture. A huge piece is obviously the smartphone revolution.
Totally. Remember dial-up?
Oh gosh, yes. The screeching.
The internet was a destination. Now, the smartphone put the internet in your pocket. Being online became the default state, not the exception. And by 2025, billions of people worldwide will have these constantly connected devices.
And the iPhone launch in 2007 was a real game changer, wasn't it?
Absolutely pivotal. It wasn't just a phone, it was this powerful portable computer making the digital world instantly accessible anywhere, anytime.
And once everyone had these things in their hands, boom, social media, apps, everything just exploded.
And here's where it gets, well, kind of manipulative. These platforms weren't just built, they were engineered specifically to grab and hold your attention.
Right. They're competing for our time.
Fiercely. And they use incredibly sophisticated tools to win that competition. Their number one weapon, the algorithm-driven content feed.
Ah, the algorithm.
Yeah. Unlike, say, reading a book where you finish it, platforms like TikTok or Instagram use infinite scroll. There's literally no endpoint. The algorithm is constantly learning what keeps you scrolling, what makes you pause, what you react to.
It learns what makes you talk on TikTok, as the source put it.
Exactly. It's personalized to keep you hooked. And because attention is the currency, these algorithms are increasingly designed to serve up content that is super stimulating, maybe emotionally charged or sensational, because that's what holds our gaze the longest.
I read Jonathan Haidt talking about this, how algorithms amplify stuff that triggers strong reactions, which can really ramp up anxiety and negativity online.
And this whole system fosters an instant gratification cycle. You get a quick hit of something interesting or stimulating, then another, then another. Over time, this trains our brains to expect these rapid shifts, these intense little bursts of novelty.
And that shortens our attention spans, right?
Yeah.
Makes focusing on one thing feel hard.
Painful, even. The idea of sitting down to read a long article or work on a complex problem or even just focus on one task for 30 minutes without switching, it starts to feel almost torturous because our brains are wired for the quick hit.
And then you layer on top of that the notification economy. Every single app wants to send you alerts, news, likes, messages, updates, ding, ding, ding. It's just this constant stream.
And they're not accidental. They're designed to trigger a response in your brain. Each notification carries the potential for something rewarding, a social connection, interesting info, a message. This taps directly into our brain's reward system.
Dopamine.
Exactly, a tiny bust of dopamine. It's like our brains have been trained, almost like Pavlov's dogs, to anticipate and crave these digital signals. Comparing it to a mini drug hit isn't really hyperbole, that's biochemically what's happening.
Which explains why some people feel they have to check their phone, 100 times a day, or even more. You get stuck in this feedback loop.
Yeah, one expert noted our phone habits are starting to look a lot like addictive behaviors. You're checking not necessarily because it makes you feel good anymore, but because not checking makes you feel anxious or bored or just uneasy. It's this state of restless anticipation.
So when you trace it back, 24/7 email, then constant social networks, then these algorithms pushing emotionally charged stuff. It's like a recipe for chronic overstimulation across society.
Precisely. Which brings us to that term that sort of popped up recently, brain rot.
Right, Oxford's word of the year for 2024. It's slang, but it captures a feeling, doesn't it?
It really does. That feeling that consuming endless streams of trivial, maybe low-quality online content for hours on end is somehow degrading your mental state.
Is there actual science behind that feeling?
Well, an academic review explored this very concept. It linked that feeling of brain rot to potential cognitive decline and definite mental exhaustion. This comes from things like mindless doom scrolling or binge-watching hours of, well, junk videos.
So it's not just feeling tired, it's more than that.
Yeah, the review suggested this kind of constant superficial input might lead to emotional desensitization, genuine cognitive overload. It's associated with behaviors like zombie scrolling, where you just feel unable to stop. And it can even impact how you see yourself.
Wow. There was a great analogy in the source material.
The tech-fueled malnutrition one.
Yes. Like stuffing your brain with mental junk food, mental candy, until you feel bloated and sluggish, instead of nourished and sharp.
That really captures it. So that sets the stage. The problem, how the tech got us here, and this idea of brain rot capturing the feeling. But what's the actual measurable toll on our health? Understanding that is often the key motivator for change.
Okay, let's dig into that impact. Where does it hit us hardest?
Well, let's start with mental and emotional health. There's a really strong link shown in research between heavy digital use, especially social media, and increased rates of anxiety, depression, and loneliness.
Particularly for younger people, right? Teens and young adults.
Yes, that demographic seems especially vulnerable. Part of it is definitely the comparison trap. Constantly seeing curated highlight reels makes it easy to feel inadequate or like you're missing out.
Low self-esteem kicks in.
Exactly. But it's also simpler than that. Time spent endlessly scrolling is time not spent on things that actually nourish well-being, like real-life interactions. So you withdraw a bit, which makes you feel more lonely, which might make you scroll more. It's a vicious cycle.
Makes sense. What about cognitively? Our actual thinking power?
Think of it as cognitive clutter. Your brain's processing capacity just gets maxed out. And some early neuroscience is looking at potential physical changes. One study mentioned linked excessive screen time in young adults to a thinning of the cerebral cortex.
Whoa, thinning.
The
Cerebral cortex, that's important, right? Memory, decision-making.
Very important. It's basically your brain's command center. Other research found lower gray matter volume in brain regions crucial for memory, emotions, self-control, and heavy screen users.
So what does that mean long-term?
It's still early days for this research, but the findings hint that years of digital overuse could potentially speed up some brain changes we normally associate with aging. It definitely raises big questions.
And even without those long-term changes, we feel the immediate effects daily, don't we? Difficulty concentrating, being forgetful, that mental fog.
Absolutely. Information overload makes it harder for your brain to filter the signal from the noise. This can lead to decision paralysis. You just have too many inputs, and it makes it harder to form solid, lasting memories.
And that shortened attention span we talked about.
A major side effect. Our brains get trained for sprints, those quick attention bursts, but we lose the endurance for the marathon of sustained focus. This hits hard in work, academics, even just having a deep conversation.
Yeah, the workplace studies were eye-opening. Employees spending nearly half their day on shallow tasks like email and chats, mainly due to distractions.
And that stat about interruptions. Each time you're pulled away, it can take up to 30 minutes to fully get back into that deep focus zone.
30 minutes. Think about how many times that happens in a typical workday.
Exactly. 10 interruptions could mean 5 hours lost just regaining focus. No wonder people feel drained and like they haven't gotten their important work done. Your concentration is just completely fragmented.
The emotional toll seems huge too.
Yeah.
Beyond anxiety, just irritability, feeling grumpy.
Yeah, that constant overstimulation keeps your brain in this state of heightened arousal. Your nervous system never really gets to downshift and relax. You're just perpetually sort of on edge.
Stuck in fight or flight.
Kind of a low-level version, yeah. That Stanford therapist quote was powerful. Checking your phone first thing is like looking a threat in the face. It jolts your nervous system when it should be easing into the day. These frequent little stress responses add up, contributing to chronic anxiety and burnout.
And physically, beyond the sleep issues, which are massive, that poor sleep worsening mood and focus creates a nasty feedback loop.
Right. There's also the sedentary aspect. Hours hunched over devices means less movement, more posture problems. Doctors see a lot of digital eye strain or screen fatigue.
Dry eyes, blurred vision, headaches.
Exactly. And tech neck, sore shoulders, it's a whole cluster of physical symptoms.
And there was even that mention of potential longer-term health risks, like the study linking lots of TV time to higher dementia risk later. It's not direct proof about phones, but it hints at cumulative effects.
Yeah, it suggests chronic high-volume screen exposure might not be benign over decades. And bringing it back to brain rot, that review linked overload to impaired executive functions.
Memory, planning, self-control, feeling foggy.
Struggling with tasks needing focus. And it noted increased psychological distress, anxiety, depression with addictive patterns. It's this weird paradox. Trivial content can make you numb to real issues, yet also increase baseline anxiety.
Plus the self-esteem hit from constant comparison. Okay, so the picture is clear. Digital overload is a whole person problem. Mental, emotional, cognitive, physical.
It really is.
So that's the heavy part. But the hopeful part is, what do we do? How do we realistically push back in a world designed to grab our attention?
Right. Let's pivot to solutions. The good news is the research offers real, practical strategies, healthy tech habits that can make a big difference.
Okay, where do we start? What's foundational?
Setting boundaries and creating tech-free zones. Sounds simple, but it's incredibly effective.
Like specific times and places.
Exactly. Delineate clear off-limits times or spaces. Maybe no work email after 7 p.m. The dinner table is a phone-free zone. Critically, charge your phone outside the bedroom at night.
Oh, the bedroom charger. That's a big one for many people.
Huge. The goal isn't just physical separation, it's psychological detachment. If work is always buzzing in your pocket, you never truly switch off. These rules act like digital guardrails for your mental health.
And those sundown times, putting devices away an hour or two before bed, that ties right back into protecting sleep.
Absolutely crucial. Second strategy, schedule intentional screen breaks. Your brain and eyes need rest from that constant input.
The 20-20-20 rule.
That's a great one for eyes. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. Simple, but it helps.
And for focus, things like the Pomodoro method. Work sprints, then breaks.
Yes. And during those breaks, truly disconnect. Don't just swap your computer screen for your phone screen. Stand up, stretch, walk around, look out a window, maybe step outside if you can.
Some companies are starting to get this right. No meeting times, email-free days.
They are, recognizing the need for deep work. But if your workplace doesn't do that, you can still proactively block out focus time in your own calendar. Let people know you'll be unavailable. Remember that 30-minute refocus time. Giving yourself permission to monotask is incredibly valuable.
Okay, monotasking. I like that. Next up, curating your content diet, like with food.
Exactly like food. Quality over quantity for your brain. Do a digital declutter. Unsubscribe from emails you never read. Unfollow accounts that make you feel bad or just suck you into mindless scrolling. Delete unused apps.
That brain rot review specifically mentioned curating input quality as key, didn't it?
It did. Be ruthless. If doom scrolling news spirals your anxiety, limit yourself to one trusted source once a day. If certain social media feeds trigger comparison, just unfollow. And practice mindful browsing. Before you click, pause. Do I really want to engage with this now, or am I on autopilot?
Breaking the autopilot scroll, that's key.
And ironically, tech itself can help here. Use screen time trackers and digital wellness apps.
The phone's own settings, yeah. Digital well-being or screen time.
Those are powerful. See where your time actually goes. Set daily limits for specific apps. Use bedtime modes that gray out your screen or silence notifications. Think of them as a digital coach helping you stick to your goals.
And managing notifications proactively seems vital.
Totally. Turn off all non-essential alerts. Do you really need a ping for every like? Research suggests batching notifications, checking them only at set times, maybe 3 times a day, reduces stress more than trying to ignore constant pings or going cold turkey and worrying you miss something vital.
So putting you back in control.
That's the goal. Now this next one might sound intense, but it can be transformative. Try digital detox periods.
Like completely offline.
Temporarily, yes. It could be a digital Sabbath, 1 day a week offline, a weekend camping trip with no signal, or a bigger challenge like a month off social media.
That sounds difficult. But liberating, maybe?
Many people find it incredibly liberating, even if it's tough initially. That journalist example was great rough first week with withdrawal and FOMO, but by week 3, feeling calmer, more present. By week 4, didn't even miss scrolling.
And realized life was richer offline.
Exactly. Even a temporary detox can reset your baseline stimulation level. You might find you just don't crave it as intensely afterwards. Even 1 day or 1 week can be eye-opening. Use the time to rediscover other things, notice how you feel.
Which leads to another point. Replacing screen time with real-life rewards.
Crucial. If you cut back on screens but don't fill that void with something nourishing, boredom will just pull you back.
Feed your brain healthy alternatives. The brain superfoods versus the screen junk food.
Right. Exercise, nature, reading a physical book, a hobby, a creative project, real face-to-face connection.
So instead of scrolling first thing, maybe quick workout or journaling.
Or just enjoying coffee quietly. Instead of scrolling before bed, maybe read, stretch, listen to music, call someone. Starting and ending the day intentionally screen-free can dramatically shift your nervous system away from that anxiety jolt. It breaks the addictive cycle and reminds you how good offline life feels.
Okay, final strategy. Mindfulness and single tasking.
Yeah, a lot of overwhelm comes from that feeling of being pulled in 10 directions, so practice being present.
If you're watching a show, just watch the show.
Pretty much. Close the other tabs when you're working. It's hard at first because we're so trained to switch, but intentionally single tasking really cuts down that fragmented feeling.
And mindfulness techniques for the urges.
Simple things work. Feel the itch to check your phone. Try 1 minute of focused breathing. Interrupt the impulse. Strengthen that mindfulness muscle. Maybe use a meditation app instead of social media during a break.
Retrain yourself to tolerate stillness, even boredom.
Exactly. That quote was powerful. Boredom is the space where creativity and self-reflection thrive. Getting comfortable with unstimulated moments actually benefits your brain.
Those are really concrete strategies. And the good news is they work, right? Research shows benefits pretty quickly.
Yes, studies show taking control can significantly improve mood, reduce stress, improve sleep surprisingly fast. When heavy social media users cut back, anxiety and depression symptoms often improved within weeks.
And limiting leisure screen time to under 2 hours a day linked to better mental health.
The science backs it up. Change is possible and beneficial.
So it's not about demonizing tech, it's about being intentional.
Precisely. Tech is a tool. Use it healthily. Set boundaries, curate your input, be mindful. Become the boss of your devices, not their victim. Small, conscious changes protect your mental health.
I like that framing. The world won't slow down, so we have to intentionally slow ourselves down within it. A digital diet, moderation, mindfulness.
And pay attention to how things feel. Does scrolling Instagram leave you drained? Does a video call with family feel good? Use those feelings as your guide for what to trim or keep.
As we wrap up, let's paint that positive picture again. Reclaiming hours for things you love, for rest, waking up calmer without that notification flood, having a clear mind, focusing without the itch.
That's the potential payoff. More focus, better mood, deeper connections, a calmer mind. It's reclaiming your life, really.
It's a journey. Start small. Tonight, maybe just charge the phone outside the bedroom. Tomorrow, a phone-free walk. Notice how you feel. Build from there.
The hyperstimulated world isn't changing, so we have to change our relationship to it. The reward, reclaiming your brain, your peace, your real life, is absolutely worth the effort.
That really is a deep dive worth taking. Well, that brings us to the end of today's deep dive on reclaiming your brain from digital overload. We really hope you found this discussion insightful, maybe even empowering.
Digital overwhelm is definitely a modern challenge, but awareness and some conscious discipline can make a huge difference in finding balance.
Thanks so much for listening.
Yeah, thanks. And until next time, take care of yourselves and maybe give your brain a little screen vacation.
Remember, you can find more deep dives like this from My Mind MashUps. Please do like, share, and subscribe so you hear more whenever we tackle new topics. You can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, Facebook, Pocket Casts, Spotify, and YouTube.